Butter Boys right now, we play a lot of shows.
I noticed.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
Yeah, I know. We play a lot of, just in general, because like, and I'm also in a band, High Tiny Hairs too, but that's a Ben Bachman thing. I play keys in that. So now I'm in 3 bands.
Joe as well?
Oh yeah, Joe Holland.
Joe Holland.
Joe
Yes.
Holland and Monet.
Yes.
Yeah, best band. It's really fun, and Ben like rules, and it's like so much fun to play, like, just because I lead Ghost Kitchen and Butter Boys, and so it's really nice to not lead a band and to show up and be able to just play my keys and like play and just add to these really fun, good songs.
So just to be a part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, and that's it. And we're finding that too more. That's a part of that ecosystem of like, I think we've all gotten to a point where when you find people that you like working with, and we all are very committed to being in a band. It's not like a hobby. It's very much like, this is our lives and this is what our jobs are, what sustain us to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And luckily we all like our jobs too, so it's good in that respect. We're not like getting burnt out by the work, but the band stuff comes first. And we're all just working to one day sustain so that we don't have to like do anything else other than like create in all of our different avenues, because we're all multi-talented artists in like every way. And being able to play when you know like, yeah, we all work really well together and we have different things, so let's just like switch it up and be in a million different bands together and and figure it out so we can play as many shows and meet as many people as possible.
Yeah, hummingbirds, cross-pollinating.
Yeah.
So I promised you we'd go to 2005, and now this is the ideal seg, because the character in 2005 has seen a band that they like, and they really know how to shred. Have I told you I'm starting a band? I'm starting a band now. Have I told you I'm starting a band? Because I've got a bunch of songs in my teeny tiny little head. So now you go from having a bunch of songs in your teeny tiny little head to having a bunch of bands from High Tiny Hairs to both Ghost Kitchen, where you lead vocals and guitar.
Yep, and now I'm playing bass too.
Bass as well, okay.
Yeah.
And Butter Boys, where you lead vocals and keys. One of the key things I was interested to ask you about today is what you've just brought up, the experience of being in these different roles in the multiple music making entities. Could you reflect a bit on your journey from, is this you in 2005?
I think it's a loose me. It kind of is, the idea of that is 2005, I was a little younger. I was probably doing this more in like 2009, but I love the year 2005. But like,
what do you love about it, briefly?
It's just the vibe. Like I remember, I think I was in the 8th grade in 2005, so everything was really weird. I had just moved schools, but it was like a cool move for me because like I played for a basketball team in that city, and so I already had friends. And I was like just getting into my like scene kid, like MySpace days.
Yes.
Like that whole thing. And there was like, I don't know, there's something about being like 13 and 14 years old, and especially in a new space, but I was still like one town over. So every weekend I'm still hanging out with all my friends, and now I'm just meeting all these other new friends. So now it's just like my ecosystem got huge. And
lots of double time flitting around.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of flutter. Exactly. That's. I mean, this is a trend in my life. I'm always needing to be in like 5 different places at once.
Yeah.
Probably stems from childhood. Let's be real, but I like it. It works for me. I like the pace.
Yeah, and so long as it is sustainable, and
you learn how to
doing
rest.
It for some time.
Exactly. You learn.
Seems to be.
You learn how to like make that work. That's why. After this, I'm playing a bunch of video games to like chill my brain out. But there was like, I think that was the first time where I really felt autonomy as a person. Like that's when I was really starting to like find my own music, not just listen to the music my brother was like showing me or my mom was showing me. And like that's when I started going to shows as like a teenager, and I was like given more responsibility or like trust, I guess.
Yes.
And I think. And that can happen to anybody in any time. For me, it happened around that age. But those are like, for me, I see my life kind of on a timeline, and there's like these like stamp marks of vibes, I guess, that I just like, that are, you can just feel like, oh, that was a pivotal time that really shaped like who I am. And I think 2005 was one of those times. And then also 2009 where like this is more taking place because I wasn't smoking weed or doing drugs when I was 13. I was playing a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
And so like, but I was working at Panera. This is kind of like where this time is more about. And like, just, I had a really good friend, Becca, who actually, I don't have the song written, but there's a new Ghost Kitchen song actually about her. And we just used to, she'd pick me up and then drive around and we'd just smoke weed and then go pick up somebody else. And like really the idea of this is just like friends.
Yeah.
Finally getting a car.
Yes.
Driving around, talking about like, you know, smoking weed, just talking about like that we don't want to do our homework, all of our dreams, like going to Red Robin, like just,
which
just
is
a
referenced.
Day. Yeah.
In this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really what happened. Like it was just like.
I like that. Okay, is that Heard by the Red Robin? Just squeeze, you'll all fit right in. The fact that. Like all my friends.
Yes. Yeah, it's like because we would way too many people in a car, like very dangerous. But it's just like just squeeze in, you'll all fit.
Yeah,
let's go.
But it's kind of there's a yes and here. Yes, very dangerous, and there is a celebration of the valuing connection and the wanting to include everyone, and something has been sparked, and all of us in this friendship group are, you know, riding this wave together. And it's interesting that you'll fit right in, the sense of belonging, because that could be, obviously, first and foremost, we'll all fit in this car, whether or not it's advisable. And then secondly, for me, there's a sense of, in this moment at least, we all have a sense of belonging.
Yeah. Totally, definitely. And then with like the lyrics after that of it just being like,
this is fun.
Yeah, and we're not doing anything. Like we're like doing nothing, doing something.
But they're doing something, and like it's an interesting paradox. Like when you're playing video games after this, you're doing nothing. But
I'm doing something.
But it is the halftime torpor-like part of the full story of the sustained hummingbird.
Yeah, and I think like. Those times are really what taught me to slow it down. Like, not everything has to be an event, but just doing something, even if it's nothing, is something. And I think that's something that it took me a while to learn. Like, doing nothing is something. So take a chill pill.
Yes.
You don't always have to be going to have meaning or for it to mean something or whatever. Like, actually, some of my favorite times are when I've been doing nothing or doing nothing with other people. I think is like very important, like just being in the presence of other people and all just doing nothing, just driving around or like going to Target, not even buying anything. Like those type of activities when you're doing it with your best friends, even though to maybe somebody else it feels like a nothing situation, to us it's very much like everything. It's the
someone
best
could
part.
look on and be like, come on, kids, do something.
Yeah.
Make something of your lives.
Yeah,
and what we'll be thinking is, do your homework.
Yes.
Get the good job.
Yeah.
Make some money.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then burn out at 26 and like need to really do nothing for real. And so it's like, I'm always just trying to save people from that. We don't all need to be burning out all the time.
Absolutely.
And so I think, we all need to take a little, do nothing, because that is something.
Yeah, it's replenishing and it's absolutely essential. That's my experience. When I was less focused on the spark of music, specifically when I was working on my PhD, like there would be much more sleep deprivation than there is when I go to stay out late for shows now, because I make sure that I catch up on the sleep now.
Yes, exactly.
So I value rest.
You value the rest, exactly. Totally, agreed.
Okay, so around about 2005, 2009, this spark is developing. You're becoming conscious of it. You're spending time in the company of the people where you can share this spark, and you have the idea that maybe a band will form, or you're saying I'm starting a band, and then could you reflect a bit more on the journey since having the thought that there are songs in your head that could work their way out to now having maybe we can bring Ghost Kitchen in as well, where you're a primary songwriter for two completely different entities. And so what is that like? How is that different from being where I'm starting a band, I have songs in me, they're going to emerge from me, to being at the point where you've got you're a songwriter for this entity, a songwriter for this entity, and a keys playing member of this entity and more.
Yeah, I mean, well, Butter Boys was my first band that I've ever been in. I just like always loved music and was like, and had good pitch or whatever. I did choir in like the 5th grade and never did it again. So at least I learned how to breathe.
Yes.
That was like what I got. So that honestly, like that's what I got out of it. So I learned how to breathe, which came really in handy, like for Butter Boys, because it's just, they were very loud. But David, my husband,
who was here?
Yeah, who was here?
and just sidebar, who was there when I was making the music video by unintentionally, coincidentally.
Yeah.
I'm not implying that he was following me. Yeah. The universe is such that that David was there.
Yeah.
As in fact, there are 2 characters on the Hum records. So one of them is Dr. Calder, who, technically I am Dr. Calder, but within the music videos and so on, Dr. Calder is kind of like the more scholarly side of me, trying to understand and share and educate about wholehearted living and so on. Yeah. And then there's this other character who is the one that kind of proclaims, those who have an ear to hear will dance.
Yeah.
And so on. And that character is called Cephas. And that character wears a robe, has like an undone robe, lots of chest hair. And so I ran into David. Well, David, I didn't until today when we arrived here to do the interview. David was sharing. I think I saw you a couple of days ago. I saw you walking from like close to Mortimer's. Once David described where I was and what I appeared to be doing, that was probably about 2 minutes into the one shot, 18-minute real-time footage that then gets condensed into the 1-minute song that's the opening track from Hum.
Yeah.
And I had started in Mortimer's, had a shot of Malort, and then left Mortimer's after the Dr. Calder character reads some passages that actually did influence my thinking about wholehearted living and music.
Yeah.
And one of the passages says that it says about the purgative way and like letting go of things, and the metaphor of pouring out water for wine, pouring out the old thing to make space for the new thing. So Dr. Calder reads that passage at Mortimer's, has his shot, and then walks to Hum's Liquor because Hums.
Yeah.
So you saw me walking to Hum's.
That's so funny.
And I think that I will be editing this music video later today or tomorrow. And if you passed me on the street, you were in the music video. David from Butter Boys, who was playing at the Hum record release,
which is so that's so wild. What are the chances? It's so funny.
So I pick up some boxed wine right after you've passed me. I go into Hum's as Dr. Calder, and I had bought the wine and left my Cephas gown in a bag at Hum's earlier. So I go into Hum's, pick up the boxed wine, which is Redvolution, because what sparked the revolution is a song. Redvolution wine, boxed wine. And I take off my shirt in Hum's where, it's not being filmed. I take off my shirt and blazer, put on my gown.
That's amazing.
And emerge from Hum's. And then I put these goblets of water all the way on my journey home. So then the rest of the video, we keep on bumping into the Cephas character. Every corner, suddenly, as the person, you said you saw someone, you were going to say hi, but then you saw someone was following me with a camera.
Yeah, I didn't want to
that would be good. We might, if there's a moment of hesitation where you're on the cusp of communicating, then that will definitely be accentuated in the music video.
Like, no, not right now.
But every time my friend Andre, who I was making the video with, like catches up with me, gets to the corner, like the Cephas character has acquired I had all these goblets full of water, and I put little signs by them saying music video prop, please do not take.
Oh my God.
So I would get around the corner, I'd pick up the goblet of water, and then it's like head on with the Cephas character for a bit, and then the Cephas starts pouring out the water,
Yeah.
and leaving a trail of water. That's okay for the ecosystem. Water.
Yeah, water's fine. Water's great.
And then eventually we get to where I wrote all the hum songs, and Cephas has 3 empty goblets, and he fills them up with wine.
That's so
and drinks them.
amazing. I love that. I can't wait to see it.
And I thought of that when I was when I was sitting with all the Butter Boys songs, and the song that made Egghead. I left the liquor store. I thought of Cephas leaving hums.
Yeah, totally. That's so crazy. There's so many like different like connections.
Yeah. He didn't drop all his bags.
No.
But he did run into David.
Yeah.
So anyway, I interrupted. You made a reference to David,
Oh
and I wanted
yeah. Because so Butter Boys was my first band. It started because honestly, I always wanted to I never wanted to be a singer. I always specifically wanted to be in a band, but because I'm who I am, I was like, I gotta bring something to the table, so I need to learn how to play an instrument or whatever, but I did not have the patience for that. That's not how I learn. So it was years and years and years of me like every once in a while picking up a guitar and then trying and then being like, I don't want to learn a chord. This is not the way that I'm gonna do this, and then put it back down. And then when I met David, he was a drummer, and his other bands had a practice space. And so we would go in and he would practice drums to songs that I like to sing anyway. And I just got used to like I like couldn't even hold a microphone. I was like, it was just like such a foreign thing to like hear my voice through. Like when I was a kid, I sang like the national anthem a few times and like that kind of stuff. Why, I don't know, but like they were always having me do stuff like that at school.
You could sing well.
Yeah, I could sing well.
But then suddenly having this
but
device,
never
a
really
microphone to sing into.
Like I could sing well, but it was kind of like there's some weird thing that happens with me, and it's been since I was a kid. It's like people just assume it's like you got it, you're figuring it out. But I was like 8, so it's like no, I don't. I don't know anything. I'm just good at the. There's certain things that I'm just like kind of good at, and I think that type of, especially as a child, it's like adults are weird, and so they're just like, yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
We don't need to help you.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, but I actually have no idea what I'm doing, and like, you usually have
I would
to
like
help.
some help.
Yeah, I would love some, but I don't even know how to
guidance.
ask for help
Right.
because I'm a kid who just got here. So it's like, I don't know. I have none of these skills, but you guys all assume I do because I was a confident little kid. So it just never really went anywhere. Like I'd play, I think maybe a few times I had a friend came in growing up kind of in that like 2005 to 2009-ish era that we were hanging out all the time. And he is a really talented guitarist. And I grew up in Redmond, Washington, so I'm surrounded by like music in Seattle area, that kind of thing, and very like grungy and whatever. So we were always going to shows, and he was doing stuff, and I would write stuff, but it just like never stuck. But then when we would go to the practice space, David would play drums to like the Shins, which I love, or like New Pornographers, and like that's kind of like my jam. And I would like practice singing along to these songs. And then Joe Markson of Loser Magnet, we met him at a festival. There was a collective that David used to be a part of called Camaraderie.
Yes.
And we used to throw on a festival.
Yes.
And so we met Joe there, and like the rest was kind of history. We were like, well, David and I have been like hanging out, and he's been playing drums. Like if you want to come and play some guitar. And I think we wrote like 3 songs the first time we jammed.
Wow.
And I think it was like That Girl Sucks, this song called Backstreet's Back, that we don't have recorded, and Dracula Party.
I love that there was a song called Backstreet's Back.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of our first, and like it was. I think Backstreet's Back technically was the first song we ever wrote, and I just thought it was so funny to call it that.
It is so funny. Backstreet is back. I've been very into the Backstreet Boys of late.
So good.
I've been singing Larger Than Life at karaoke.
So good.
It's a favorite song of my friend Antonio's. It got played at his.
They're the best.
Yes.
I mean, their politics are a little weird now. They've gotten a little weird, but I don't care. I love those albums. That's like my childhood.
Yeah.
Like I love them. But yeah,
Larger Than Life is a song about one's love. Don't you see how your love's affecting our reality?
Yeah.
It's about recognizing love and good times.
And like the ripple effect of it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's what it's all about. And that's what
Totally.
it enacts.
But yeah, so that's how Butter Boys kind of started. It was just a buds getting together and making it happen. And we wrote, I think in the first year, there's so many Butter Boys songs that like don't even exist anymore. But like, what did we have like 25, almost 30 songs that we wrote in like the first year and a half of being a band.
Yeah.
And kind of like dwindled them down to like what After Hours Superpowers is, and a few, we have an EP too that I think is on Bandcamp.
It is.
Yeah, with like Dracula Party and Let's Go and some of those other songs. But yeah, that's how it started. That was it, just like hanging.
Right.
Yeah, just having a good time. And then we just became a band, and we were a 3-piece for like a year. And then
With Joe.
Yeah, with Joe.
Yes.
And then
Who was also involved in Camaraderie? Or
No.
The Camaraderie people ran into Joe at a festival.
yeah, he came, our friend Tony Malangone, he brought Joe to Fairfield Revival, which was the festival that we used to put on. And
I remember the Camaraderie interview.
Oh, yeah. That was the first time I ever met you.
Yeah, back at the very beginning of
Oh
Back
my
to the
gosh,
City
that was
in
so
the Cyanide
long ago.
Radio.
That's so funny. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
it was,
that.
we met in Christo Peters'
Garage.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Like in what, 2016?
It's 2016. Yeah. So where does that fall on the timeline?
The Butter Boys, I think, started later that year, in 2016. Yeah.
Yeah.
We started like in the spring of 2016. So yeah,
Yeah.
because I wasn't playing music at all at
Yes.
that interview. I was there doing like philanthropy, actually.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So I like, and I wasn't planning on ever.
Right. Little did we know that you were right about to become.
Oh, that's so crazy. Wow, I haven't thought about that in a really long time. Yeah, I don't even know if we knew Joe then.
Yeah, it's just so funny to think that was our first meeting.
That was our first meeting.
And it was right before.
Yeah, that is. It was right before the start of the B-Boys.
But this is an especially ethical Merry Christmas. How so, Katie?
Well, we're making it a benefit this year.
Yeah.
Just with the state of the world,
Yes.
we thought it was a good idea to give back to the community, and it goes back to kind of what camaraderie is all about. So we're doing a benefit for Hopewell Music Cooperative, which is in North, and it's a super dope organization that gives low to zero cost music lessons to kids, and not just kids, it's adults too, but the people of North Minneapolis. And one of the things that it's really tangible because their scale is if you apply for the free lunch program if you're a kid,
Yes.
you get free music lessons.
Oh.
And it's huge because like music helps with math comprehension, it helps with
Yep.
like a million different factors.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the first things to get lost upon if you're like in a low income household.
Yep.
So it's like if you don't have money to buy groceries, it's gonna be hard to buy your kid like a guitar.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool, and it goes with camaraderie about music.
Yeah.
You want to do things for the kids and do things locally.
Yes.
So this will like directly impact our local community in like a big fun way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was our
Meeting,
first
and it was-
meeting.
And it was right before.
Yeah, that is. It was right before the start of the B-Boys. Yeah, but then, so that's, and our writing style, really, like a lot of these songs were written, well, all of these songs on After Hours Superpowers it was like a collaboration between Joe and I, really, he would like, either we would jam as a band, but not a lot, maybe like our first songs were like that. And then he normally would write a guitar part, or at least like a handful of parts for that could be, and then we would like edit together that part of it, and then, which this is still my process. Once we figure out what the structure of the song is, then I take it and work on what the melody is going to be, and like kind of in my own little silo. During the writing process, though, like I said earlier, like I'm humming along and like kind of figuring it out. Sometimes whatever I'm humming in practice like kind of goes out the window, because usually like the first thing that I'm humming is kind of like the melody that you would expect to be there, and I don't really like my first melody isn't really the one that I normally like to go with. I want to like start there and then throw it in the trash and find something that's like a little bit not exactly what you would think would be there.
Yes.
I feel like it just makes the songs a little bit more interesting. And so that's what we did for most of half of After Hours Superpowers. We actually, as a full band, didn't even play them together. We all wrote like these, we had our old songs like Kids Gone Wild and That Girl Sucks, Roundabout, Clothes Don't Fit. I think those were ones that we had been playing. We played live, they were part of the rotation. But like After Hours, 2005, Prom, Egghead, I think those were all that we wrote on our own. So Joe sent over the recordings. We were taking kind of like just like, it was right before, or it was 2019. So we were just like all writing it together. Ollie, who was in the band at the time, they were our bassist. They wrote all their stuff. We didn't even hear these parts until we got into the studio. And those were the first times like that we played them all together live. And like After Hours, I wrote the lyrics for in the studio.
Right.
Because I had no idea what I was gonna do for that.
Yeah.
I knew there was just no melody that I wanted. Like every single time I was like singing something, I'm like, this doesn't work at all. Like you can't sing over this. And I was really like adamant about not editing it, because I've edited a lot of, like before Joe and I worked together on editing it, and I was really like pushing myself to be like, this is the structure that he, like that was his first structure. And I want to try to like build these songs based on what he actually gave me, like raw, and see how I can make them work. And After Hours just was like, I'm gonna have to just talk over this. That's what I want to do. Like I think that's what makes the most sense. And then it just kind of turned into somebody at a party that's like all coked up, or like something that is just like this stream of consciousness that like just doesn't stop.
Yes.
And you're like trying to go someplace else, and that's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, okay. I know, I've heard of the Mandela effect. Yes, I know about the Denver airport. Yeah, maybe you should run for president. I don't know, man. Like, you gotta like get away from me.
That person is all double time.
Yeah, it is.
No half time.
No half time.
No, not even any common time.
Yeah, and it's like, and in there's some like good themes. It's like, okay, yeah, I agree with that. Like minimum wage is bullshit, and like we should eat the rich. Like totally, dude. And like, yeah, these things are weird, but like in the erraticness of this person and how and that's why it's like After Hours, because it's like this is the person that you're now at like the second location with this person. Like you're having fun at the bar, and then they're like, everybody come back to my house, and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that you were like really coked out and like really all over the place, and now we're all just sitting here, and it's like, why did we come here? Like, and then it's like, and that person, because like in the idea of like After Hours Superpowers is it's like that feeling of this like superpower that you get once you've like, you're having a really good night, and you probably should have just like ended the night on the high, but now you're like have these like After Hours superpowers that you didn't even know you had that really aren't anything, but like you feel that way. And if you're with the right group of friends, like you can all feel that way. But like After Hours in itself, that song is really about like, yep, here we go. Like, all right, we're on this roller coaster with whoever this is.
That's all really interesting, because it's obviously not is not entirely disparaging, and it's not mean, and it's not poking fun.
No.
But it is in the same way that we're invited to recognize when this spark, from music is present, and to discern what sustains it and to foster and celebrate that. But we're also being invited to recognize, okay, now the roller coaster needs to slow down a bit and maybe like transform into something that isn't a roller coaster. Because if it's all roller coaster all the time,
it's like that stops being a roller coaster. That's You're just like on a really fast train going nowhere that has loops. Like this doesn't.
Loops are fun, but
loops are fun.
other
But
things
if
are fun
you're
too.
looping all day, every day, you're gonna like get used to it, and that's not really great.
That's not fun.
No, that's not. Like you don't. Like that's not fun to like not enjoy a roller coaster anymore.
Exactly.
If you're on one all day, every day, when you see another one, it's like, nah, I'm good. Like I'm always on this. I'm always on this roller coaster. Yeah. So that's kind of like the Butter Boys process. And then transitioning into Ghost Kitchen. Ghost Kitchen. So I wrote most of them on guitar. It was kind of like I just have always wanted to play guitar. And for me, I have to set a goal. And David and I actually have another project that we don't do anything for yet, called Jim Kardashian. And during Butter Boys, we're going to have a residency at Mortimer's, where
old
all of
Mortimer's.
our they're not side projects, all of our other bands.
Yeah.
So it was going to be a Butter Boys like family night. So it was going to be like us, and then Kyle was in Lud Gang, and now he's in Time Room too. But it was going to be like Kyle and Lud Gang, and then at the time Sydney Oxford was filling in on bass, and so it was going to be Mommy Log Balls, and then it was going to be Loser Magnet. It was Joe, and then it was going to be Loser Magnet, and then we didn't have anything else, so we were just going to do a Jim Kardashian set, and I had like a handful of songs that I'd written on guitar that weren't fleshed out, and I was like, we can't just be the two of us because this doesn't make any sense. So Dallas, who was in Young Yeller, and my best friend, he jumped in and he was going to play keys. And then at the time, Sydney Oxford, actually, he was on bass. He's no longer on bass, and we have Ben Bachman now. But that's how the band started, is we were going to just do like a one-off Jim Kardashian set, and I just wanted it to be a little bit more full. But then, like it goes, we started like specifically Dallas, David, and I, like all us working together and creating music was like so seamless.
So that was going to just be Jim Kardashian
One time.
and that became Ghost Kitchen.
Yeah, it was going to be a one-off show as a band, because Jim Kardashian is going to be, it's still always a project, but I think it's going to be more like studio-based, and it's going to be more synthy and like Fantagrammy, and just something fun that we can do like at home on our own. No timeline, not really playing a bunch of shows.
Right.
But
yeah,
for
and
this,
if you're not committed to doing lots of live performances, then you can make it a studio record. When I was writing the Hum songs, I wasn't planning on making a record,
Exactly.
but then so much difficult to explain away magic has happened.
Yes.
Where my old friend Tyler, who I was collaborating with back when we had our first meeting, like when I was making music back then, he helped me make some demos of songs and so on. He happened to reach out when I was working on writing these new songs and said, I've got a new home studio. Do you have any new songs that you don't have any recordings of? I hadn't written any songs in years before writing 10 songs in 10 weeks. And I was on week 3 when he reached out to say, do you have any songs? I need a guinea pig. So
it's like, well, do I? Yeah, I do.
And so I went over and we were, whereas I thought I was just writing the songs to play once at a showcase, so I would have the extra incentive to actually do the 10-week songwriting challenge.
Yeah.
I'm going to perform 10 new songs. They could be rubbish.
Yeah, but
if I hold myself to performing them, then I'll write them.
That's what happened. That's literally what Ghost Kitchen turned into, because it was for Jim Kardashian, and then Omicron was out, so we canceled our residency. So that show never even happened. But then it's like, this is a band now, and we're not going to call it Jim. So come up with a new name, and so it was Ghost Kitchen. And the day that we announced that the band existed, and I think at that point we had 3 songs or 2 songs, 2 or 3 songs. Laura, who books at White Squirrel, saw me at 331 and was like, oh, I just saw Ghost Kitchen. Do you guys want a residency in April? And I think it was February. And so
And
we
you
had from
just revealed that
we
Ghost
just
Kitchen was a
literally
thing.
we just posted about it that day, and I was like, yeah, sure. I wasn't even planning on playing any shows yet. It was just like, hey, we're a band, things are gonna happen. And so that day we booked a residency, which is very aggressive for a band that
Has 3 songs.
3 songs. We had 3 songs, and I like was learning guitar for this band. So I still don't know how to play any chords. So I wrote these just like hitting whatever, just like, okay, this sounds like it's
Yeah.
cool, and this sounds like a song.
I love
so
it. Yeah, and it sounds in a good way. I'd have thought, unlike a song that a person who knows the rules to follow
Mm-hmm.
Would write.
yeah, I mean, yeah, because I don't know any of the rules. So
I most of my songs I write like that. You just find interesting
Yeah.
patternings that
Sound good.
unusual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of like when you find the melody, that's the obvious melody, and
Yep.
then so I'm not gonna have my song be A D D G.
yeah, I couldn't even if I wanted to. I don't even know any of it. And that's what also is like working with me on guitar. It took like, there had to be a very specific personalities, because it's like, I'm not going to be able to help you actually. So you just gotta do it. Like, I can't tell you. Unfortunately, I'm a really good leader in all other aspects, but now me on guitar.
Right. Same with me. Like when I then had other people joining in to turn these hum songs into a record, and they're like, what key is this in? And what's the name of that chord? It's like, well, I don't know. It's like you
Just
put a
here.
keyboard there, and then you
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you and then you
Then you
and
put
then
this
get
finger.
all these frets
Yep.
up here, and then that would be I don't know what it is.
Totally. Well, and then my writing process, what made it really tough, I'm fast tracking myself to play very like difficult things without me knowing it, which is cool.
It's like how you play games.
Yeah, exactly. See, it's totally how I play video games. Oh, that's so fun. I didn't even think about that. I did the exact same thing with Ghost Kitchen, where I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to be there already. So
That was before. In a nutshell, how do you play computer games?
yeah, we were talking about this earlier. Because we were talking about David, my husband and I, we play very different. So like David, juxtaposition to me, like I'm playing this game, Disney Dreamlight, kind of like Animal Crossing, and
She's got more money than Scrooge McDuck.
I have more money than Scrooge. I have more money than Scrooge McDuck, actually. That's what I want. That's what I want the people to know. I do. I have way more money than that guy, that fool. But David, when he plays, because you get your own house and like whatever, and you can decorate it, and that's like kind of the point. Like they have this whole store where you can get new outfits and really cute little things, and his house is always really cute. And then you go into my house, and it's just like chests that you put inventory in, because like you can mine and you can fish and you can do stuff and you make new things with that. So all I do in that game is spend all my time planting pumpkins, because pumpkins, you buy the seeds for like $300 and then you can sell them for like $650. So you're making like more than double every time. So like I just have fields of pumpkins that I'm tending to, and then making like $300,000 every time I go to Goofy, who's like the merchant. And I sell them. And it's honestly, we should be looking into Goofy, because he's the one that can buy millions of dollars worth of pumpkins for me. So I don't know, it's a conspiracy.
Never trusted that Goofy.
Yeah, so that's how I play games. Or like in Breath of the Wild, like in Zelda, I like stock up a bunch of the stuff that makes your energy level, so that
Yeah.
I can like just go over the mountain.
So that's the analogy. That's the
Yeah, exactly.
So
Where
that's
it's like,
how you're playing
instead of
guitar
following
now.
the path,
Yeah.
that is way like, that's what the path is there for. I would rather go over the mountain and struggle, and just so I can get to a further place in the game, so I can start buying the inventory there and then selling it in like the lower levels, or getting like the armor that's better because like you can find chests in the farther parts of the game.
Right. And if you suddenly return from across the mountain to do the tasks that you do have to do,
so much easier,
well armored.
Oh yeah, exactly. Then I'm just like slaughtering everybody, just like bang, bang, bang. Who cares? Yeah, I've been there, done that. It was really hard to get this stuff, but now I'm just like mowing through everybody, which is like the point. So it's like a little, it's a concentrated time of like, this is difficult. There is an easier way, but the reward is so much more. And that's exactly what happened with Ghost Kitchen.